Fast-moving streams like this are great habitats for benthic macroinvertebrates. Benthic means bottom dwelling. Macro means that they're big enough that you can see them with a naked eye. You don't need a microscope. And invertebrates are those critters that don't have any backbones. So mussels and fingernail clams, worms, a whole variety of different kinds of insects, whether adult insects or larval forms that live underneath the rocks or in the sand and gravel at the bottom of the stream, feeding on plant material that's washing down the stream or on each other. They might be predators, and dragonflies are one of our friends. They eat lots of mosquito and black fly larvae when they're in the wetlands that they share. Yep. So if you watch this really fast beetle skimming around the surface, that's a whirligig beetle. And if you look closely, you might see a little bubble of air that it takes with it when it goes. Over here are dragonfly nymphs. They look very much like the adults, except they don't have wings yet. They spend a year or several years underwater before they emerge and fly off as adults. Stop it. And one way to find critters in the stream is to take rocks and flip them over and look for the things crawling underneath. Here's a stonefly. Stoneflies have two tails and they're very flat, and they are really good at clinging to the bottom of rocks, in between the rocks and the cobbles in the stream. Here's another critter that's a megaloptera, or fish fly. They're predators. You can look at the front head and see the big jaws that they have. And then there are also caddisflies. Caddisflies are house builders. They build little houses around them out of sand grains or pine needles, or sometimes a whole collection of different things. Sticks and leaves, hollow stems of grasses. So you can see its head popping out underneath there. That's a caddisfly. And then in here are also mayflies, which I don't see right now. They look very similar to the stoneflies, except they have three tails instead of just two, and they have little frilly gills along their abdomen. Let's see if we can find some under here. They're very tiny right now. Okay. Swimming caddisfly. Look how green it is under there. And they're just found underneath the rocks in the sand grains, where they're tucked away, shredding up leaves and algae and things like that as they feed. And here's a little freshwater snail, very tiny. Okay. Many of the macroinvertebrates that you find in the stream, like damselflies and caddisflies, stoneflies, mayflies, all depend on cool, clear, clean, oxygen-rich water. In a section of stream like this in the Chocorua River that flows down out of the larger wetland, it comes through the forest, and the shrubs and the trees on the banks of the river provide shade, which cools the water as it flows by. And the water flowing over the rocks and cobbles and over bigger boulders kicks in a lot of oxygen into the water that those critters depend on as they crawl around underneath the rocks and through the sand grains and in and out of the water.